So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to welcome you all at the Uttarakhand Roadshow for Prarambh, which is a Startup India International Summit. The prime focus of today's roadshow is to sensitize the startup ecosystem players from the state of Uttarakhand about the Prarambh Summit that is going to be held during January 15th, 16th of this year and is being organized on a grand scale by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, in short, DPIIT, Government of India. So Prarambh is being organized to mark the 5th anniversary of the Startup India initiative. The Startup India initiative has provided a huge impetus to the startup ecosystem in the country. I'm proud to say that today India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, with startups contributing immensely to the innovation-driven growth of the Indian economy. India is also the home to 30 plus unicorns, which means companies which have reached a valuation of $1 billion, 7,500 crores approximately, with 11 startups entering the unicorn club during this pandemic year of 2020. In line with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of one startup in every district, India now has more than 40,884 startups recognized across 586 districts from all 28 states and 8 union territories. Startup India has been successful in igniting the minds of young innovators and entrepreneurs across the country, and the current median age of our founder entrepreneurs is about 31 years. These startups also come from more than 48 industrial sectors, which we also call verticals. The Indian startup ecosystem has seen substantial growth in not only the metro cities, but across the length and breadth of the country. And so it has been an even growth with about 50%, 55% of the startups coming from tier 1 cities, while about 45% come from tier 2, tier 3 cities. Today, 30 states and union territories have their own startup policies to nurture and scale homegrown startups. And I must add that Uttarakhand has been one of the pioneers, and under the kind of pioneering leadership of Mrs. Manisha Pawar, this state has made extraordinary progress in advancing the startup ecosystem. So in addition to creating a policy-led enabling ecosystem, we have also worked hard to create a market for our entrepreneurs. So this has happened through the creation of a government e-marketplace, in short, GEM portal, where 4,000 plus startups have registered to offer their goods and services to government organizations and PSUs. And as you probably already know, that during the pandemic time, last 1 year, many of these startups have been able to produce specially designed products to specially cater to the COVID affected industries like PPE, etc. And in fact, you'd be glad to know that India emerged as one of the largest producers, second largest producer of PPE in the whole world, and it is the industry is worth some 7,000 crores, spread across 1,100 manufacturers, producing some 450,000 PPE units daily. The It has also been my experience for the last 1 year that when things are tough, then it is the smartest and the toughest that survive. And in the end, they come out much stronger in the post-COVID world. Many Indian startups have been able to modify their business plans, create business continuity models. Several startups have seen an opportunity in the current times. Startups are developing innovating low-cost solutions in response to COVID-19 pandemic, right from sanitizers, tracing apps, low-cost ventilators. In fact, one of the companies with which I'm associated, which came from IIT Kanpur Incubation Center, and it's called Noka Robotics, has been one of these companies which has created a high-end ventilator at a fraction of the cost for which it has been imported from abroad. So many startups quickly adapted during this period of last 1 year to the operations to meet the current market demand. For example, one of the companies, Saral Design, which was a FICCI Millennium Alliance portfolio startup, started manufacturing low-cost sanitary pads and is now manufacturing three-ply surgical masks with help from the automotive team of Mahindra Group. The tie-up with Mahindra is aimed at fast-tracking the production process to aid the healthcare workers and medical system who are in the front line dealing with the life-threatening and fast-spreading COVID-19. We don't have enough time to go into this process of triumph during this period of difficulty, but I am personally aware of any number of companies who, during this period, far sort of exceeded what would have been their normal expected growth. I know of a company called Style.me, they're in virtual reality. And during this 9 months, they have grown their sales 10 times, 10x. And there are sort of examples galore of people, young people, bright Indian young people have risen to the challenge of COVID and the difficulties and have come out far ahead of what they would have done in normal times. So, in a similar way, FICCI, through its Millennium Alliance initiative, is also enabling Indian innovators, such as Saral Designs, to share their innovative solutions developed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic with our friends in Africa and South Asia. So India is now reaching out to other countries with what I would call appropriate technology for these countries. And so we are, now sort of exporting our talent from the startup pool. So I can now say, and I will not take more time, confidently say that startups are going to play a significant role in making India Atmanirbhar. We have heard that word very often in the last some months. And I feel quite convinced that this big push towards that goal will come from the startup, the new companies, because there are two things which are happening there. One is that there are new companies which are coming at the cutting edge of technology. We have, I think, Mr. Amit Sinha, who will a little later speak about the drones and so on. And recently, we had a meeting with Mr. Sinha, who is in the government, um, because he is leading India's drone technology initiative. So we had a meeting with him some time back. So India is, on the one hand, there are companies who are working on rocket technology, the most advanced technologies in medicine, drug discovery, etc. But at the same time, now there is a divergence where we are getting many companies coming from the rural areas who are working in agri-tech. So we will be very keen to hear about some of those initiatives. And I'm sure that what last 5 years has done will be nothing compared to what will now happen in the next 5 to 10 years. If India has to really become one of the leaders of the world, I think that will come from its startup initiatives. And before I finish, I wanted to say one thing to, I think, a large number of young aspirant startup, sort of promoters who are attending this program through the YouTube channel, that the ecosystem, through the effort of many people across India and in Uttarakhand through Startup Uttarakhand, especially Manisha ji, etc., has reached a place where I know it from my experience every day that there is enough funding available for good projects and from all sectors. So recently, and this gentleman, this young person is attending our session and he'll be speaking for a few minutes. Recently, a company, two young boys came through the startup Uttarakhand initiative. They were chosen, and then the angel investors, one of my colleagues from Calcutta who was visiting, he first spotted them, and we took them on, and we first taught them, how to prepare a good proposal, how to make it bankable, etc. And after they were properly coached and mentored, we brought that proposal for funding to our members, and they were oversubscribed 3 times, and all in the course of half an hour. And the people who invested in that, because I know many of those players, they're the most savvy investors in this country, so they're not doing any act of charity. So I believe that the scope is unlimited for all the young people. Of course, there is that element of hard work, grit, to stay the course, but the ecosystem is primed. We are primed to take this movement to its greater heights. With that, I will, end my talk. And now I have the pleasure and honor to invite Mrs. Manisha Pawar. And just a word or two, those who are in Uttarakhand, they all know her. But still, I must just say one short sentence, that I think what we see in Uttarakhand, the progress which Uttarakhand startup ecosystem has made in the last few years has been largely on the efforts of Manisha ji's dedicated work and her leadership. So without much ado, I will invite her to address us and tell us how this journey happened here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chatterjee, for this very kind introduction. So, a very good afternoon to all those who have tuned in to this webinar today. And let me start by, of course, thanking Fiki for giving me this opportunity to participate today. As you rightly pointed out, Mr. Chatterjee, I think the starting point for experience sharing has to be DPIIT, because In the last 5 years, it is DPIIT which has really worked very closely with the state governments to help them take their policies forward and to put in place the right ecosystem for startups. So let me just recount how we started this whole journey. So when the Startup India initiative actually started, and they started interacting with the various state governments, Uttarakhand at that point of time decided to enter into a MOU with Startup India, and that MOU really worked very well, and in terms of a continuous support that we were able to get through the Startup India team. So apart from this engagement through a MOU, DPIIT from time to time has also helped us with framing of policies which are in sync with the Government of India's policy. And down the line, they've also put in place legal frameworks and various incentives for startups to survive. So as far as Uttarakhand is concerned, our journey actually started a little more than 4 years ago, when we started to put together the first startup policy for Uttarakhand. We had very little background of how smaller states are dealing with this, but we were very ambitious, and at that point of time, I was fully confident that in Uttarakhand we have immense talent and immense entrepreneurship. And once a good ecosystem is in place, our young men and women will definitely take it forward. So our starting point was the Uttarakhand startup policy. And let me just put it on record that the political masters from time to time have been very encouraging, because the policy went to the cabinet. There were financial incentives which were approved by the cabinet. And so that was really the starting point when Uttarakhand made the first statement that yes, we are keen to put this ecosystem in place. So we designed this startup policy, which was duly approved by the cabinet. Secondly, we started to put in place the right kind of institutional framework for implementation of the policy. So we set up the startup task force and council in our state, and now since it has become quite mature, it has been registered as an independent society, so that they can function with a lot of freedom, and they can anchor the project management unit within themselves. We also decided to hire professionals, because we knew that this is a new sector, and our own officers will take some time to train themselves and to build their capacities. So as of now, we have this team from PwC who are supporting the Directorate of Industries in this whole initiative, and I think there's a presentation lined up by Siddharth as well. So the second effort was in putting in place the right institutional structure. Now, third was building the capacity of our officers. So in the districts, it is the general manager of the district industry centers who are tasked with implementation of the policy. So there were various rounds of building the capacities, uh, sharing with them what the whole startup effort is all about, what they need to do to put in place a good ecosystem. And I think slowly we have come to a point where our district level officers are quite clued in, and they do try and deliver to the best of their capacity, as in terms of sharing of information, or providing the right connect. So and then of course the huge challenge was of reaching out to the remote districts. Setting up the startup ecosystem in tier 2 and tier 3 cities is really the challenge that all of us are facing. And given that challenge, and then the additional factor of taking it to the hill districts was there, and therefore the Startup Yatra initiative which we undertook. So let me just share about the Startup Yatra initiative. Maybe some of the audience today were part of that. So we took this Startup Yatra, which was actually a van which had all the information, audio, visual information about startups, and it went to various higher education institutions of the state. And there in various colleges, these small pitching events were organized. So this was just to create an environment of interest in what is happening in the state, and giving an opportunity to the students to talk about their ideas without inhibitions. So these pitching events, which were held with the Startup Yatra, were pretty informal. They were held within colleges, and we saw a very good turnout of students. And then once those ideas which were presented there, they were filtered, and then some of the selected participants were brought to the state level. And then at the state level, we have now, I think, organized 2 rounds of state level pitching events, where we also invited investors from outside, because in our own state, while now we have moved ahead and a local chapter of TIE is being set up, and we are very hopeful that the angel network will also get strengthened here. Initially, we had to invite investors from outside, and we gave an opportunity to the students from our state to pitch their ideas in front of these investors. So I think this whole gamut of various initiatives which were taken up and over these last 3-4 years, as a cumulative effect of all these efforts, I can now sense that there is a good interest in amongst people to register as startups, reach out to mentors, access funding. So as a result, Uttarakhand now has, I think, more than 90 registered startups, out of which 15 are already seed funded, which is very good, and it is very encouraging. And as Mr. Chatterjee just shared with us, even in year 2020, which was really an outlier in terms of businesses and the challenges that the world faced because of the pandemic, some of our startups have done well. They have been able to identify business opportunities, and they are moving forward very confidently. I would also like to mention that as a key component of this whole ecosystem, uh, we've also recognized incubators. So about 8 incubators are now recognized. Some of them are established and fully functional, while others are in the process of being set up. And of course, IIT Roorkee and IIM Kashipur have been, and the University of Petroleum have been very active and good partners in this whole effort, as also the various industries organizations who have worked with us. So I'm not in the department any longer, but just to recap, all these various initiatives gives me a huge sense of satisfaction. And I'm very happy that the industries department, along with the Angel Network and the TIE local chapter, are taking this initiative forward. So all the best to everybody engaged with this. Thank you. Your mic is muted, Mr. Chatterjee.
I know. Thank you very much, Mrs. Manisha ji. I think there is nobody better in the state of Uttarakhand who is aware of how this journey started, and we are very fortunate that we have heard it straight from you. So thank you. I hope you will continue to guide this movement in the state in your whatever capacity you are in the government. And now I will request Mr. Azam Ali Khan, who is the CEO of TIDES, IIT Roorkee. So two things here, very brief comment that IIT Roorkee has been one of the front runners in this entrepreneurship drive. I remember, I think as long back as 10 years that IIT Roorkee invited me to teach a course on entrepreneurship, which I couldn't do because I was traveling a lot. But Mr. Azam Ali Khan, I think he's a product of the same institute, and then he has taken up. So he's one of the early pioneers promoting entrepreneurship, and IIT Roorkee is one of the premier institutions in our state which is promoting startups. So please, Mr. Khan, give us your experience on your journey.
Thank you very much, Udayji, and thank you very much, the FICCI team, who has invited me for this special occasion to address a large gathering of entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs. I may be a product, but I'm not the pioneer because I see one of my fellow senior, Amit sir, also present there. A lot to learn from him. It's a great gathering. I would completely resonate with you when you talk about Manisha Madam, that she's been a kind of a leader in developing the whole ecosystem in the Uttarakhand state, and we have been working with her and her team for almost 4 years now. And now we have reached at a stage where the numbers which you were telling are really good to state. Uh, Tides has been working since last 6 years now. We are trying to promote startups and entrepreneurship, not just within the campus, but trying to cater to the whole region, especially Uttarakhand and Western UP. Uh, Basically and primarily, we try to support startups in technology domain, and that is primarily because we are a technical institute. We have the necessary capabilities and the resources, lab structure, technical know-how, through which we feel that we can add value to the startups and the entrepreneurship. Uh, it is not possible without leadership which is extremely helpful, and that is the reason I must state that the leaders in IIT Roorkee administration, especially the director and all of the deans, they are quite helpful in supporting startups as well as entrepreneurs, not just in providing access to the labs facilities, but also helping them whenever there is some problem as far as stay or accommodation is concerned. Uh, Tides has set up a very professional network. So right now we are receiving more than 300 proposals every year, and we have set up a process which is a bit stringent. And the reason being to set up a stringent process is because we want that a startup or an entrepreneur should get a feel or a knack of the market very early in their journey, so that if there is something which can be tweaked, which can be modified, it can be done at an early stage. We have been supported by many venture capitalists. It's amazing because we are among the oldest technical institutes in Asia, and this basically equips us with a huge alumni base. And so we tap onto our alumni base. Probably, I mean, I take pride in saying that you go to any organization in India or in abroad, you will find at least one IIT Roorkee or UR person who would be there. And they're always ready to help us out, whether it is in terms of technical know-how or market access or mentoring the new or young budding entrepreneurs. So all these facilities are there. As of now, we are providing support at every stage of a particular startup. So we have a scheme which is to support ideators, which are like, you just have an idea, we are there to support you, both in terms of mentoring as well as financial incentives. You develop a POC, which is called a proof of concept. Again, we can help you in developing your proof of concept by giving you funding. You want to develop that proof of concept into a working draft prototype. We are there to support you in terms of funding up to the tune of 10 lakhs. You want to convert that prototype and vest it into a company. We are there to support you and form a company, basically follow and abide by the whole structure. We have an in-house team of CA and CS who can help you do that. And then we can also provide seed funding and seed grant to the tune of 25 lakh rupees. And then we also ran an accelerator program and further on. As of now, we have a portfolio of startups which have a market value of around 350 crores. Our cohort has a total of 70 incubated startups, which means that these are the startups which we have already signed agreements with. So these are the very formal and professional kind of support which we are providing to all the startups. We are being supported by Department of Science and Technology under their Nidhi scheme, and also by Department of Biotechnology under the BioNest through BIRAC. So we are divided mainly into non-life science based startups as well as life science based startups. And as we know that life science based inventions and innovations have become extremely critical, and that is the reason why Tides has a separate setup, which basically provides both wet labs as well as dry labs, along with access to some state of the art equipments for startups working in the field of life sciences. So in this way, we are trying to provide the whole ecosystem, the complete comprehensive resources which are left at the disposal of the entrepreneurs, along with regular monitoring, regular reviews. We invite almost a weekly basis. We have been inviting mentors which are taking webinars. Definitely, COVID has been a bit of a challenge, mainly because the campus was almost closed. Most of the things are happening online, but I would say that more than a bottleneck, it was actually a boon in disguise, because now we cannot anymore say that Roorkee or Uttarakhand has a geographical disadvantage. We are equally equipped as somebody staying in London and have access to almost the same resources online as anybody else. So that is basically a kind of a boon which we have seen. We've been able to invite a lot of good mentors online, and a lot of good entrepreneurs and venture capitalists who have been helping us out. So this is a
Mr.
brief
Khan,
introduction about
uh,
TIDES initiatives. I must say that institutions like FICCI have a big role to play in our success, and I'm sure that we will together be working more for the development of entrepreneurship in the startup in the Uttarakhand state. With this, I think I would like to thank everybody, and over to you, Udajit.
thank you, Mr. Khan. And as I said, you are one of the premier, institutions here in Uttarakhand, and you're doing excellent work. And we will continue to, interact to take this movement forward. And now I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Sagar Sengar to make a presentation on Prarambh, the Startup India International Summit 2021. Mr. Sengar.
Thank you, there, sir. Uh, while I would just like to pull up my PPT, if the host can allow that.
Sudhir.
Meanwhile, I would just like to say that it has been great listening to you all so far, and I'm looking forward to hear more, not only about the Uttarakhand state, but the genesis of startup entrepreneurship and ecosystem in itself.
Sagar, I'm not getting your request for allowing.
It actually says that the host has disabled the participant screen sharing.
Okay. Let me check.
Sure.
Is Aishwarya here? She is aware.
She made me the host. She was
Okay,
not.
okay.
Uh,
If not, what we can do is, while you get this sorted out, we can, we can call the next speaker. So we don't waste, because we are running a little tight on time. Is that okay?
Sure.
Maybe Sagar, you can try now. Maybe Sagar, can you try now?
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay, great. So carry on.
Just give me a second. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for having me here. In the interest of time, I won't repeat the thing that Uday sir has already spoken about. My name is Sagar. I'm here representing the Startup India team. Generally, I would go through all the Startup India offerings and what it has for startups in general. But in the interest of time, I'll keep my presentation focused on three of the things here. That is Prarambh, SRF, and NSA. So a little bit about the startup ecosystem of our country. I think Uday sir has already spoken very well about this. I would like to just add a couple of points here. We have 586 districts as of now out of the 732 in India, which have a startup already, and the map on the right side depicts the same. And the average age, as this mentioned, it is 31 years. And so far, these startups have generated more than 4,22,000 jobs. And in 2016, we just had 505 startups in India, which has increased to 41,000 as of today. So there has been more than 80-fold increase. There has been a 55% CAGR growth in number of startups in tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well. And some of our metro cities, such as Bangalore, rank among the top startup destination in the world. Now that we are now very sure about the growth of startups in our country, I would like to move to the next level, which is here what Startup India actually is. It is basically a flagship initiative of the government of India that was launched in 2016, and we are now about to complete our 5 years. So as far as government of India is concerned, these are the parameters which one should fulfill to be counted as a startup. So the entity type must be a private limited company, LLP, or a registered partnership. The age of the company should not be, more than 10 years from the date of incorporation, and the turnover should be less than 100 crore in any financial year of its operations. And the fourth parameter is relatively simpler. The startup should be working in the field of innovation, generating sufficient jobs, or is must create the wealth creation, which is kind of very basic to any business. Now coming to how can one to be applied to be a startup. Uh, so this is a fairly simple recognition procedure that we have. You just have to fill an application form at the Startup India website, which takes just 15 to 20 minutes. And it denotes all the information about your startup, who's the director, what do you do, how do you generate a revenue. This is then processed by our team within 24 to 48 working hours, which is then approved. So it is a very simple process, and you can just log in into the Startup India website and complete this process. Coming down to Prarambh, as the name speak, it means an auspicious start, and I believe we all agree that is what we need after a difficult last year that we had. This entrepreneurial event is aimed to bring India's entrepreneurship force on the global map, and is being conducted by DPIIT, that is Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, on the 15th and 16th of January. The summit is expected to bring together top policymakers, industry, academia, investors, startups, and all stakeholders from across the globe to celebrate the 5 years of launch of Startup India initiative, which has played a pivotal role in spurring the spirit of entrepreneurship in every corner of the country. We have more than 200 speakers across 24 sessions in these 2 days. And in addition to deliberating on good practices from the best of the ecosystem across the world, the sessions of the summit are designed to showcase the spread and depth of entrepreneurship based on innovation in India. The idea is to attain attention of global capital for startups in India, mobilize the domestic capital, provide opportunities for accessing international market to our startups, and involve the enabling policy provisions. Now, coming to our objectives of this event, it is of course to encourage and inspire the youth for our innovation and entrepreneurship. That is one of the very important points now that we are promoting Atmanirbharta in our country in each and every field. Second is to exchange the knowledge and best practices on nurturing the startup ecosystem. So we understand that startups are not the only stakeholders in the ecosystem. They are investors, they are policy makers, regulation makers. So we want to discuss and exchange knowledge as to how the entrepreneurship culture and startup culture can be given a boost in India. Then we move on to developing capacities for entrepreneurship ecosystem. So we will have some sessions. It will be focused as to how you can approach the investor, how you can go have a market strategy, how better we can have academia and startup partnerships. So these are few of the objectives that I would like to tell upon. Moving on, these are few of the key highlights of the summit. We will have, of course, more sessions than these. So there will be unicorns such as Udan that will come in and explain their journey. There will be virtual startup showcase where cutting edge startup technologies can show their offerings. There will be best practices sharing sessions and many more. such sessions. The inaugural session will be inaugurated by Honorable CIM Shri Piyush Goyal sir, and will be participated by the BIMSTEC countries, which are countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar, etc. The grand plenary, that is on the 15th of January in evening, will conclude the session, and is most likely to be attended by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. And there will be many key announcements that will be made by Honorable PM to provide huge boost to the startup ecosystem of our country. I would like to, in brief, tell about startup ranking framework that is being conducted. This is the third edition of startup ranking framework, and this is basically a capability development exercise that is being conducted across states. So this is not only to award states who have been doing good for their entrepreneurship and their state's culture of entrepreneurship, but also to make sure there is sufficient knowledge exchange between state and UTs so that all of us can come to a level playing ground. So there are a few parameters on which they are judged, which are mentioned here and can be found on the website as well. There are basically 7 reform areas across 26 action points. Coming to the National Startup Awards, this now we are moving into the second edition of the National Startup Awards, which is 2021. But I would like to briefly tell about the National Startup Awards 2020, where we selected many startups, incubators, and accelerators as winners across different sectors. And the important thing that I would like to highlight here is that the winners not only get funding, but also get several other benefits such as mentorship support, showcase opportunities, investor connect, government connect. And even the winners have been decided 3 to 4 months back. We are still hand holding them and will continue to do so over the next year. So these are a couple of winners in different categories who have been appreciated by the Honorable Prime Minister as well. And Scapic Innovations has been acquired by the Flipkart Group. So you can see the quality of startups and the rigorous evaluation process that they go through. So coming to the National Startups Award 2021, the applications are open. So I would encourage all the startups to go and apply in the relevant sectors and participate in this competition. This time we have more sectors and special sectors as well, such as women entrepreneurship for startups who are already who are working with the help of students in colleges. So there are different sectors for that. Lastly, these are the snapshot of the award details. So the winner will receive the funding, of course, from grant money from the government, but even the startups will, the runner startups will be helped in other areas such as Government Connect and Investor Connect. So there are different special categories, and there is also award for incubators and accelerators. So this is all from my side. Uday sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was very useful introduction to what the Prarambh program is all about and all the schemes. And I think this will be very useful to the large number of young entrepreneurs who are attending this session. Please take full advantage of this. And also, I again urge all of you to attend the sessions on 15th and 16th. Thank you. So now I will request Mr. Amit Sinha, the Director, IT Development Agency, Uttarakhand, to speak on startup opportunities in drone and e-waste. And as I was saying at my introduction, that I recently, my group had a session with Mr. Jayant Sinha, who I believe is leading this initiative at the center. Mr. Jayant Sinha, like Mr. Amit Sinha, is an engineer. I think Mr. Amit Sinha from Roorkee and Mr. Jayant Sinha is from IIT Delhi, and he was a great kind of engineer who worked with his hands and designed lots of things he shared with us. So, I have great pleasure in inviting Mr. Amit Sinha to share his views on drone and e-waste opportunities.
Thank you, Udayji. Good afternoon, all. I'm thankful to Fiki for inviting me here. In fact, we started our drone application research center a few years back, when in fact the drone policies were also were about to be made, then we started this drone agency. And fortunately, this agency presently, which this particular organization which we are running here, is totally run by young pass out from colleges. They are fresh minds and all are doing such good things here. I mean, and the intention of this drone application research center is to create an ecosystem around Dehradun, around this part of India, where actually the drone startups can come and they can do their business. In fact, in many of the drone works, we had requested the young startups of Uttarakhand to help us, and they have helped us in many areas, especially in the field of surveying. We have found many startups, they have come up, and since as government organization, we don't generally go for doing works for the department. We generally encourage the young companies or the young students or the young pass outs from colleges to come and do some work there. And apart from that, the drone, obviously, when we started drone, we had this in mind that this has immense opportunity especially in hilly area where we have lots of problem of disaster. We had in fact, the reachability is also an issue. So we have quite a good opportunity of drone startups in this area. In fact, the present STPI has also been, government has declared it as Center of Excellence for drone. In fact, for drone and robotics, this particular STPI Dehradun will work on. They have conducted a lot of competitions also regarding this particular thing. In fact, IIT Roorkee also, we as a batch of 94, we donated about 1.75 crore to our alma mater, and they have agreed to spend about 1 crore rupees on starting a hobby club of drone in IIT Roorkee, so that the students who are studying there can actually do some drone work, so that after passing out from there, they can do some business in drone, they can start their own business in drone. So, we are trying to create, in fact, I should thank Manisha ma'am for that, because Manisha ma'am has initiated all these things. In fact, she helped us in creating this ecosystem here in Uttarakhand. So we actually tried quite hard, but unfortunately during pandemic days, since the focus was not on big works, so this particular drone, the growth of this drone was little hampered. But still, since the opportunities are here and people are requesting for more and more survey work, more and more medicine delivery things, so we are hopeful that drone startup can actually do good business here. Apart from drone, we have during pandemic time also we have discovered this particular thing, that in e-waste vertical we can do a lot of things. In fact, we have created one e-waste studio here at our IT Park, ITDA campus only, where we have firstly cannibalized the waste computer parts and made new computers and distributed it to colleges, primary schools. And apart from that, we have made various artifacts from the leftover part of those computer parts. And in particular field, as I have found that there are actually, firstly, no awareness is there. So there can be a possibility of startups exploring such things, because as I have seen, there are a lot of rare metal, lot of precious metals are generally getting wasted in this e-waste. So they can be retrieved back. I mean, the methods can be made by which the PCBs can be cheaply retrievable. So if some startup can come, some startup can start such ideas of doing such things, then maybe, in fact, I'm assuring them that as ITDA, I can give them a platform. In fact, I can make them meet big companies, big people who can actually, even the angel investor like you and other people, they can also come up to help them out. I mean, we can create a platform for those startups. That all. Thank you. Thank you. That's
Thank
what I
you.
want.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. And you can be assured we will be sending people to you to take the benefits that you have mentioned. So thank you very much. And now I'm very happy to invite Professor Safal Batra from IIM Kashipur. As you know, the IIMs across the country have been behind many of the very successful startups in the country, and I'm sure they're part of some of the unicorns that we have talked about. And I'm sure that IIM Kashipur is soon going to be, one of those big sort of uh, people in this process, and there will be many successful startups which will come out of the IIM Kashipur Innovation Incubation Center. So, Mr. Batra, please.
Thank you so much, Uday sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Safal Batra. I am Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship here at IIM Kashipur. Since I am a teacher by profession and a teacher by heart, I will take 4 minutes to teach a concept, and the remaining 1 minute out of my 5, I'll talk about our incubation center. And what better than defining entrepreneurship for young, passionate, budding entrepreneurs like yourselves. Uh, Whenever I ask my students who is an entrepreneur or what is entrepreneurship, they say entrepreneur is a big risk taker. Then I say this person, who rides his bike in that Maut ka Kuan, no one takes bigger risk than him. Is he an entrepreneur? No. Is a person who opens a new business, but that's a businessman. Then who is an entrepreneur? Probably a person who innovates, thinks something very, very new and creative, but that's an innovator. Then what exactly is entrepreneurship? Who is entrepreneur, which we use all the time? To answer this question, to find out who is an entrepreneur among us, all you have to do is to ask one simple question to anyone. No matter if he's a one-man army or he's a big, running a big empire like Mr. Narayan Murthy, all you have to ask is one question. Are you satisfied with what you have accomplished? This is a question that comes straight from theory, goes straight into practice. Are you satisfied with what you have accomplished? When Mr. Murthy had 1,000 employees in Infosys, he was not satisfied. And when he had 1 lakh employees in Infosys, he was still not satisfied. He continues this journey. In my personal meeting with Mr. Murthy, he said, no, Batraji, the journey has just begun. And therefore, Mr. Murthy continues to be an entrepreneur. So long as you have a mindset of growth over above anything else, over and above creativity, risk taking, opening a business, entrepreneurship is a mindset of growth. And if you have that mindset, you can really take the country to the charters of growth. It is with this philosophy and mindset of growth that we run our own incubation center at IIM Kashipur called FEED, Foundation for Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development. You can find lots of details about FEED on fied.in, but I would very, very quickly say a few things, not taking more than 2 minutes, that we are working very closely with the Startup Uttarakhand team under the guidance of Manisha ma'am, running some of the policies here. If you are developing a new product, working out technologies to make a good product, probably go to IIT at this stage. But if you are ready with your product, if your product prototypes are ready and you are ready to go to market, we are absolutely ready. Our doors are open. Come to us. We will work with you on a marketing plan to take your product to the rest of the country. We are very focused on Uttarakhand startups. So much so that in our last board meeting, we resolved that at least 25% of our startups will be only and only from Uttarakhand. Recently, under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Scheme, we distributed money in the range of 5 lakh to 25 lakhs for developing markets of numerous agri products, and at least 4 of those startups were from Uttarakhand. So with those words, I would like to wrap up and conclude and say, please give us an opportunity to work with you closely on your marketing plans and take your product to a global growth arena. Thanks once again, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Batra. I think I'm sure that we will meet and take this movement forward. And now, in the interest of time, I will request Mr. Siddharth Shukla, who has directly worked with startup in Uttarakhand, and he has really the knowledge from the sort of ground level knowledge of this, and he is a very sort of positive person working from the trenches. And so, Siddharth, okay.
Thank you, sir, so much for giving me this opportunity. And good afternoon to all the dignitaries who are there with us. So I'll just take you through the activities which Startup Uttarakhand has done since the announcement of the policy under the guidance and support of Manisha ma'am, Amit Sinha sir, and all other stakeholders who are there in the state. They have closely worked with us. They have supported us in achieving all these milestones. So at a glance, I'll just take you through the journey of Startup Uttarakhand. Like in the recent years, we have got many accolades and achievements to the name of state government and Startup Uttarakhand. So we have got good coverage, and in the recently announced startup ranking, I think we have jumped the ladder from an aspiring. We have been able to achieve the aspiring leader category from the emerging state. So the state government has worked on each key pillars. We have focused on each pillars like policy and institutional framework, like doing the gap analysis, doing policy benchmarking, creating a specialized society for easing all the processes and regulations for our startups through, and also creating a one spot portal where each and every startup can come and they make an application and they can get the recognition and incentives without need to reach to any government department physically. Apart from that, we also been done many outreach and boot camps and grant challenges so that awareness can be created across the state and reaching out to students, entrepreneurs in each and every corner of the state. And also the government has worked on various other aspects like bringing key stakeholders in the state like TAI Dehradun. They are already there in the state now. They are now operating and they are doing many, coming up with many new programs for our startup entrepreneurs. We have also created a CM advisory group in which many people of national level experts who are there as a part of this committee under the chairmanship of Honorable Chief Minister. And also the chapter of Head Start is also there in the state. They are also doing many activities, outreach activities for our entrepreneurs. So this is the geographical spread of incubators. As of now in the state, we have around 8 incubators who are there. So from this figure, you can figure out like where which incubators is situated. And similar to the Startup India, we also have created many aspects to create an enabling ecosystem. Like we launched Startup Uttarakhand initiative in the year 2018, and we have been doing a lot of activities to train and build the capacity of our entrepreneurs. We have created a one-shot portal for all our startups and all other stakeholders who can come and they can interact with each other with an very easily process. We also created a dedicated helpline number and real-time support by creating email ID, helpline number, so that if any startup has any queries, they can be resolved on a real-time basis. Apart from that, there is a startup cell who's there, who is being supported by professionals, and they are providing 24-hour support to any of our startups who are facing with any kind of difficulties in their startup journey. So this is the vision and mission of our policy. The vision is to create a nurturing ecosystem, nurturing a good startup ecosystem in the state, and making Uttarakhand one of the most prominent startup ecosystem in the country. And the mission of the government is to create 500 new startups by the end of this policy and creating job creators rather than job seekers in the state. So the basic criteria for getting recognition under the startup policy is in line with the Startup India requirements only, but there is only one addition. If any startup who is not from Uttarakhand, who is registered in other state, then he has to fulfill one additional criteria, that is he should be operating from Uttarakhand and 50% of workforce should be domiciled in Uttarakhand. Otherwise, the conditions are very similar like Startup India, like company should not be older than 10 years, the turnover should be less than 100 crore, and the entity should not be formed by splitting any business that is already there, or it should not be reconstructed. So all the key pillars that we have worked through is like startup policy, creating a dedicated portal. Apart from that, also providing institutional support, like creating a good regulatory policies, easing out tendering participation processes, recognition processes, incentive distribution systems. So we have worked on each aspect so that the journey of startup entrepreneurs is very smooth. And also we have brought many national level and international partners in the state so that the basic support, corporate support can be provided to our entrepreneurs. So this is the basically layer of startup in the state. So basically the first level is the nodal agency. The role of nodal agency is to do the preliminary screening of startup applications, doing the technical assessments and giving their recommendations to the startup cell. Once those applications comes to the startup cell, we do the assessment and due diligence of each applications and submit those applications to our task force. The task force is being chaired by Director General Commissioner Industries, and it comprises of many other stakeholders. They meet regularly on a regular basis. So they do the recognition process and also the incentive distribution processes. The Startup Council has been chaired by our Chief Secretary, and every 3 months we do one meeting. And the role of Startup Council is to look after the policy implementation aspects of Startup Uttarakhand and also giving any major approvals for any new initiatives in the state. The focus sector as per our policy are these 10 sectors are being as decided as the focus sector: pharmaceutical, healthcare, skill development, IUs, IT and artificial intelligence, food processing, education, biotechnology, travel, tourism, and energy. And we are totally sector agnostic. It is not that if any startup belongs to this sector, then only we are going to give recognition. Startup can come from any sectors which are there. We are open to give recognition to them.
Siddharth,
Yes, sir.
please conclude in 1 minute because we are running a little, behind time. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, sir. So there are many incentive supports which are there in our startup policy. We give marketing assistance, monthly allowance, need-based, intellectual property, stamp duty, and SGST. So all these incentives can be claimed once you are a recognized startup. So as mentioned, there are 8 incubators already there operating in the state, and the state government has also given financial and non-financial assistance for running these incubation centers, and they provide basic level support to our startups in their startup journey. So the state government also does many other capacity building programs like educational course, massive open online courses, entrepreneurship development programs, and other training programs to build the capacity of our stakeholders in the state. So last year, we did many boot camps in the state through which we touched base around 2,500 students, and they participated. From these 2,500 students, 100 ideas were shortlisted through pitching process, and this again 100 shortlisted ideas were given an opportunity to pitch their idea before the grand jury, and top 10 winners were given 50,000 rupees of prize money as a seed fund to grow their business. So this is the current scenario of startups in the state. Like we have more than 250 startups registered with DPIIT, 90 startups registered with Startup Uttarakhand, 8 incubators are already there in the state, and we have also done many simplification of regulations for our startups, like relaxation in turnover, experience, earnest money deposits, and public procurement processes. So this is the basic process of recognition under Startup Uttarakhand. So as of now, we have a duration of 15 days of recognition, because every 15 days we do one task force meeting, and in this period, if any startup applies, they get recognition. So this is the basic other initiative which state government has taken to promote innovations in the state and encouraging new patent filing from across the state. So as I mentioned, there are many other stakeholders like Google Cloud, Invest India, Freshwork, Head Start, UCost, CII, PSD Chamber of Commerce. They are all of our partners. They are supporting startups in their journey and also providing mentoring support. So this is the basic uh, uh, depiction of our portal. Any interested entrepreneurs can go to the portal. They can register themselves and take the benefits of all the initiatives of the state government. With this, I close my presentation. I thank Chatterjee sir and all other dignitaries to be part of this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Siddharth. And to all the young people who have dreams in their eyes and fire in their belly in Uttarakhand, please get in touch with Siddharth. He's a very helpful chap. He's a professional, and he can start your journey towards your startup. And now we have two more speakers. One is a young entrepreneur who has started his journey in Uttarakhand, and he will, in 5 minutes, tell you how his journey started, how it went, where he is now. And we have saved the best for the last, and that is Mr. Virendra Kalra. He is one of those, heavyweights of Uttarakhand in the startup ecosystem. So we thought that he has to kind of bring up the rear and give a good conclusion to our evening's program. Of course, after that, Mr. Pant will do a short question and answer session on YouTube. So, Kashish, please give your presentation.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank Vicky for giving me this opportunity, and I hope all of you are well. Your families are keeping best of the health. And I've been thinking since Vicky has asked me to participate in this, like how could I contribute to this, as I'm not experienced as other people, other speakers here. So I figured out the best way would be if I could share my just begin journey, and maybe you can pick up a thing or two. So I'm a college dropout, and I come from a family where there's no business, no knowledge of business. Everybody in my family have worked in a jobs, government jobs, and all those things. And obviously as a society thinks, there are some rules, like you have to graduate by a particular age, and then you have to find a job and all those things. But I was not ready for that, and I dropped out of college without thinking anything, without any definite plan. And people thought that's crazy, and maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was. And during this time I was introduced to the idea of blogging, and I love doing that. And that particular time I realized I want to build things, I want to do something that others could use. And ever since I've been blogging, and but after a certain point of time I was bored by that, and I was like, we need to build something, we need to solve a problem. But you don't, these things don't, you don't go to them, they come to you. So one day me and my friends were planning for camping, and we thought how are we gonna go. And we were everybody was calling up their connections, and try to book a camp in Rishikesh, I remember. At that particular time, there was a big problem. I realized, and I thought this is an opportunity. Where there's a problem, where everybody's complaining, there's an opportunity. And the opportunity was like to build a platform that could help you to book camps, and camp keepers on the other hand to reach out to you as they lack digital marketing. And then we came up with the idea of hire a camp, and I was fortunate enough to meet my co-founder Mitul, and we started working on this. And we were doing good, the pace was okay. I won't say we were moving at a very incredible pace. The pace was okay. But it wasn't until startup Uttarakhand reached out to us. I remember we applied for the for this event they were talking about. And we got call from Mr. Abhishek Sinha, and he called me and he was like, your idea is amazing, what are you doing? You should you should be like 10 steps ahead, or where are you right now? And he helped me after that. But during this event, this event was a life changing event. We met Mr. Hari Balasubramanian. He further introduced us to Dr. Umakant Pawar and Mr. Uday Chatterjee. Three of them liked the idea, and they have been so supportive. They are so humble people. You get to learn so much from them. And if I start praising each and every one of them, if I start telling quality, I think this event, this roadshow would last longer than at least 2 hours. And these people helped us to it took us in whole different light. We realized that how wrong we have been thinking, how big this thing is. And they helped us in everything, right from basically pitch deck to introducing us to IAN. And like Uday sir said, after all this improvements that we did, we went to IAN and we asked for a particular amount, and the response was overwhelming. Our deal got oversubscribed. IAN committed 3x of what we asked for. And I believe it's people like these our mentors, like Dr. Umakant Pawar. Every time I meet him, he's like, okay Kashish, tell me, how can I help you? What do you want? Tell me. And I meet Uday sir. He's always willing to help. He's always introducing me to people. And always, like, I remember I wished him on New Year's, and he told me one thing, and it struck here, and that was like, your success is our success. And things like these, when your mentors tell you get so much confidence. Where you were putting 100% effort before, now you want to put 200 for them. It's for them that you want to do more. And I'm extremely blessed to have them as our mentors. And this wouldn't have been possible if Startup Uttarakhand wouldn't have started this boot camps. And one thing led to another, and this is why I'm sitting here. It's because of these people, and I'm extremely blessed to have them. And I believe it's people like them and the policies of government, like under Mrs. Manisha Pawar, the policies Startup Uttarakhand had, they're amazing. It's them, it's the people like them who contribute to this ecosystem and guarantee success. And I believe if this continues to happen, India would be the next Silicon Valley. And thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kashish. And as I said, your success will be the success of Startup Uttarakhand movement. So do the best that you are capable of. And as I promised that I saved the best for the last. Wherein you have to unmute your phone. Mr. Kalra is like a colossus in Uttarakhand in the field of startup. He not only has been working closely with Startup Uttarakhand, also he's involved in TIE. He's involved everywhere. As I said, he is larger than life, and he is also an active investor. And he and his group of people here, many of them part of a PhD Chamber of Commerce, TIE, etc. They regularly meet to have pitches from prospective promoters, and they fund in those. So without any more delay, I will request him to come and share his experience and if he has any words of advice for prospective startup aspirants.
Yeah, so thank you, Uday. Very, very generous words you've spoken about me. I would like to make a disclosure. Uday is a personal friend also, so this generosity probably is a bias he carries because of my friendship also. So there's nothing which I deserve in terms of what he said, but I will take it as something coming from a friend. So Uday, thank you so much for inviting me today here in both my personal capacity and as capacity as PhD Chamber. Also, we are here. We are grateful to all the organizers for calling us there. I would first speak about my perspective, which dominantly I carry from my PhD Chamber of Commerce. So, as a Chamber of Commerce, and of course, FICCI is involved in this whole thing now, and the Indian Angel Network is also there. So we are all players, multi-players into this ecosystem. We are very fortunate one that we've been associated with this movement in UK, in Uttarakhand, with the government. So we are very grateful to the government for involving us right from the first day on to this whole, the last 4 years of journey we carried through. I'll share how we as a chamber have been associated with this whole movement and how closely we've watched this movement as this movement has grown up. First, I think, was the startup policy. When we were looking at framing a startup policy for the state, there were a lot of inputs which were required because we had zero background in terms of, doing something in a small state like this, as Manisha ma'am has already spoken on this. We were fortunate that we could contribute as a chamber with certain suggestions to make this startup policy as it came up, and it took a concrete shape. And we were very glad that some of our suggestions were well received and they were incorporated into the policy, which shows, that the government is very open in terms of taking it forward. So any suggestions which come from any community, any ecosystem player have been incorporated into the policy very nicely. So then, as a chamber, there was this startup yatra which was conducted. During that startup yatra, we also, contributed our technical sides, our mentors who went and, spoke into the various universities and colleges, and they went there. And we could contribute a bit there in terms of the startup policy. So that was also, I think, a unique feature of the startup system, how it developed. The startup yatra was a very, very crucial bit of this whole system. Then, we were being as part of the startup council also as PhD. We are representing part of the chamber community also on the startup council being there. So I've seen, that things have been happening very fast. In the meetings of the startup council, the government is very active. They take very quick decisions. 8 incubators have already been recognized in the state, which shows the speed with which things have been done. So over the last 1 year, I've seen, that it just takes 2 meetings to close things, and things move very fast in terms of what has been happening in the state in terms of developing the system. Beyond this, I feel that as part of the chamber, and probably as in my personal capacity also, because I'm a professional also, I've seen, that we need to do a lot. So as chamber, what we tried to do to build up the system was, that we did a lot of boot camps here and a lot of pitching sessions for startups to find angel investors and connect them with the community who's going to invest into the startups. That was something which was needed. Beyond that, what I felt was, that it was very important that we take out part of the system out of the campuses also. So we have incubation centers in the large universities here, but at the end of the day, what we need is something which is a little more outside the campus also. So as many players as possibly can contribute to the whole system is what is required at this moment. And we feel that, yes, I think as FICCI, as PhD chamber, as maybe Indian Angel Network, or maybe other networks which I've been connected with, whether it is TIE, whether it is maybe the Venture Catalyst, from Mumbai, they have been coming here for pitching sessions. We all need to connect and build up the system because it cannot be done solely on the shoulders of the government. The government is doing its bit. The government has done its bit, and they've done wonderful job so far. But I think it is now up to people like us to take it forward. I'm very happy to listen to Kashish, because Kashish has spoken very exactly as to what we actually are supposed to perform for the startup players, for the young students of this region. We need to get together to provide them as much support as possible. I think the only thing the piece which is missing here is in terms of providing mentorship. The mentorship is missing to some extent, which can only come up from people who are there and who have the capacity to deliver that mentorship. Probably I'm talking about people like me who I can contribute in terms of my financial acumen. Being a chartered accountant, I can contribute to them how to start a business, how to register entities, what about the tax and regulatory policies. So people like me and people who have other skills on their side, like Uday, you have a lot of skills on your side to do this. I think we all need to connect together and sort of provide this umbrella to the students of Uttarakhand to take this forward. And that is something which we can do through the startup portal. I've seen the startup portal here. The startup portal lists the mentors. So as mentors, I think we should volunteer to list ourselves, as many people as possible on the portal to list as mentors. And probably all the students or the startups which are coming out of the universities, they also should get listed in terms of what requirements they have in terms of the skills they need to enhance, and what they need from the mentors. So if we can match this demand and supply, algorithm, I think that's the best thing we can do. to, maybe ensure that the ecosystem functions in a very thriving manner. So I think my thoughts will be that we would like the students to come forward, get themselves listed on the portals, on the startup portals, and we as mentors get listed there as much as possible and connect. I think this connection will only establish a thriving ecosystem. Beyond that, I have one last thing to say as far as the startup system is concerned. As far as the government is concerned, Uttarakhand, we need to work on the ease of doing business policy a little bit. Ease of doing business policy is intrinsically connected to the startup system. We can't look at the startup system in isolation to EODB. Ease of doing business is something which will ultimately impact any startup or a non-startup for that matter. So until as we move up the rankings and ease of doing business in the state, the startups will not perform to that level, because ultimately it is the same ecosystem which has to play at both the ends. So the government is working on a bit, but I think as chambers, as other players, we need to also put our suggestions. There's a lot of radical action going on within the government to improve the ease of doing business. And I think this is where we need to also step in. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Virenji. And I think you have made some very valid suggestions, and I sort of concur and agree with those. I mean, this is not just sort of specifically applies to Uttarakhand. Since we are dealing with a lot of startups from across India, this is a problem which we need to improve. Nothing solves in one day, but we are all trying to get together and trying to sensitize the government so that the startup promoters, their time doesn't get caught up in handling regulations, and they can work on their projects. So thank you very much for your inputs. And before I request Mr. Sudhir Panji to take the Q&A session, I will end my my session here by thanking all the speakers, participants, and partners. I don't want to mention for lack of time, but all the partners like PhD, like the center, IIT Roorkee, Kashipur, I mean, everybody, and of course, Startup Uttarakhand, Siddharth, they have all contributed a great deal to make this program a great success. And of course, last of all, I want to, but not the least, I want to kind of thank our own coordination team here. Locally, I and Sudhir Pant, we worked very closely to see that we can give a good program, and also from the Delhi office of FICCI and other partners, they were very prompt, Aishwarya, AT, and all the team. So I want to thank everybody for making this happen. And I will also request all the people who have joined today to please take part in the Prarambh program on 15th and 16th. And hopefully this journey will continue, and we'll meet again soon. Thank you. Over to you, Sudhirji.
Thank you, Udayji. Thanks a lot. We had good participation, and there are a number of participants from Singapore, from Nainital, from Pauri Garhwal, from Navi Mumbai, from Mumbai, and many parts of the country. And there have been very interesting questions which have come up. There's a lot of interest which is there around rural. Can there be a rural startup yatra, and how enterprises from rural areas can get connected beside the students? So we have Professor S.K. Sharma from, he's a CEO of Strides, Govind Ballabh Pant Agriculture University. So I would request him to share with us for 2-3 minutes on the role of Strides and how they can boost or how they can encourage rural entrepreneurship in Uttarakhand.
Fine, thank you, Mr. Sudhir Pant. Are you getting my voice?
Yes, we can hear you.
Fine, thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank FICCI, especially Mr. Pant, and then Startup Uttarakhand and all others to call me here to share my views although I was not on the board. So I thank you very much, Sudhir sir, for that. Starting with the startup business, GB Pant Industry is although new into this startup business. I have been given this responsibility just 2 months back, but in this very short span of time, we were in a position to have one startup recognized in the form of KB System Private Limited. And the wonderful thing KB Systems has done that they are into the manufacture of water mill floors. So nobody could just believe कि एक startup आटे का भी हो सकता है. So this is how startups they actually do if the wonderful ideas they are into it, and there are a few more startups which are still pipeline with GB Pant University. In future, we have some plans for organizing some awareness programs, capacity building programs, investor connect, and the product showcase programs in and around JB Pant University. As far as what do we offer here, as you all know that JB Pant University has a specialization and is one of the oldest university in agriculture, and in agriculture it is stalwart. But we are specialized in agriculture and food processing, mushroom production, seed production, honey production, biofertilizers, biopesticides, and then into the artificial intelligence in agriculture and all those allied sectors, poultry and animal production, fish farming, so many areas across where you can have all specialized people get a lot of thorough mentorship for product development, for creation of some new innovations into this. And not taking too much of time, I would say that now GB Pant University is open for the collaborations and partnerships with academia, industry, financial institutions, and whosoever, and in whatsoever manner for supporting startup Uttarakhand program and all the ecosystem in the state for supporting and strengthening the startups and creation of wealth and employment across the state for the betterment. That's all from my side, not taking too much of these words. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. We have one or two questions lined up for Amit Sinha ji. So we have Arvind Joshi from Singapore, who has asked two questions. He's asking, are there any plans of Uttarakhand government to improve the infrastructure, especially broadband and point connectivity, mobile, so that technology-based initiatives can be rolled out in remotest part of Uttarakhand, and especially using the drone technology where internet plays an important role. So Amit Sinha ji, if you can unmute. So we'll park this question for now. We have one question which has come from Vinayak Tiwari, and this question is for Kashish. So he's asking, he wants advice from Kashish. Are there any emerging fields in near future where there can be a startup concept? So he's saying the near future after the recent pandemic, which can have a genuine need to the society in the near future. Hello, Kashish?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I can hear.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So every field has potential, I believe. Every sector, every field has their unicorn. If you'll ask Airbnb, like which sector is the best, they will tell you hospitality is the best. If you'll ask Facebook which sector is the best, they'll tell you the social network is the best. So I believe until you need to have a strong proposal, you need to have a vision, you need to have passion for whatever you are doing. And I believe every field, everything guarantees success until unless you are passionate. So whatever your interest is, whatever you feel like there is a problem and you need to solve, or whatever you feel like just proceed with that. Don't think about the sectors, don't get into all that. Just focus on your product. Just believe in yourself, and follow your passion.
So, Sudhir ji, if I may add, one line in general, I think Kashish is right that everybody, entrepreneurs must follow their heart, But having said that, in terms of looking at what are the areas of great potential within Uttarakhand, I have found that tourism, especially rural tourism, has great potential. Second, I have found that produce, organic produce from the mountains, etc., which is pure and which is rare today, to go into that and produce better quality food products. Today after pandemic, everybody wants the best quality products which enhance our health and well-being. So that has, and of course, beyond that, there is enormous potential everywhere. But these are two things that I look at as low-hanging fruits. Thank you.
Thank you, Udayji. So one last question, because we have overshoot the session by 30 minutes. So this is a question which has come from Sri Gayatri Organic and Herbal Products. They are based out of Podi Garhwal, and they are asking this question to Professor Khan from IIT Roorkee. They are interested in jaggery and candy development and packaging, and can IIT Roorkee incubate them?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for the question. The answer to this is that incubation depends upon several factors. So definitely you can apply, and the process for application is pretty simple. You need to go to our website, tides.iitr.ac.in. In there is a separate section for incubation, and we have set up a standard template for the pitch. Please upload that pitch, populate the pitch with your answers to the questions which have been given in that, and then we can take it up further. As we say that we primarily try to encourage technology-based startups. So if there is a component of technology in your idea, definitely there are high chances that we can incubate you, as well as we can also support through several schemes which we are running from Government of India. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. And with this, we will end this session. And I would once again thank all the speakers and all the participants who were live with us. And a special thanks to Udayji for overall mentoring this session. And thanks once again. Thank you. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks, Prarambh. Thanks, Startup India,
Thank
Startup
you.
Uttarakhand,
Thank you.
JT Chambers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.